First contact gone wrong. The deep space mining station Prometheus 7 hung in the darkness between stars like a mechanical spider spinning webs of light. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck watching the automated mining drones harvest rare minerals from the asteroid field that surrounded their home. She had been running this operation for 8 years now, and the routine had become as familiar as breathing. Sarah was a compact woman in her 40s, with silver streaks in her black hair and eyes that missed nothing. She wore the standard blue uniform of the Colonial Mining Consortium, but those who knew her could see the military bearing that never quite left a person who had served in Earth's Defense Corps. The mining station was her responsibility, along with the 300 souls who called it home. Dr. Marcus Webb approached from behind, his footsteps echoing in the metal corridor. Marcus was tall and thin with wild gray hair that never seemed to stay in place. As the station's chief, scientist and communications expert, he spent most of his time buried in research or tinkering with their long-range sensors. Today, however, his usual calm demeanor was replaced by something that looked like concern. "Sarah, we need to talk," Marcus said, his voice carrying an edge she had rarely heard before. "I've been monitoring some unusual readings on the long-range scanners." Sarah turned from the viewport. "What kind of unusual readings?" Marcus activated a portable display unit, showing a three-dimensional map of their local space. Red dots moved in formation toward their position. Multiple contacts approaching from the galactic core. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases, and they're moving in perfect military formation. Sarah studied the display. 27 ships in a precise diamond pattern, traveling at speeds that suggested advanced propulsion technology. "How long until they reach us?" 6 hours at their current velocity, Marcus replied. "Sarah, these aren't merchant vessels or explorers. This is a military fleet." Before Sarah could respond, her communication device chirped with an incoming priority message. The voice that came through belonged to Engineer Rosa Martinez, the station's head of maintenance and, unofficially, their defensive systems coordinator. "Commander Chen to the operations center immediately." Rosa's voice carried the same tension that Marcus had shown. "We have a situation." Sarah and Marcus made their way quickly through the station's corridors. Prometheus 7 was designed to be efficient rather than beautiful, with exposed pipes and cable runs that gave it an industrial feel. The corridors buzzed with the constant hum of life support systems and mining equipment. As they walked, Sarah noticed that crew members were moving with more purpose than usual, though most probably hadn't yet heard about their approaching visitors. The operations center was the heart of the mining station, filled with screens displaying everything from ore processing rates to asteroid tracking data. Rosa Martinez stood at the central console, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She was a woman who had grown up in the asteroid belt, learning to fix anything that could break in the harsh environment of space. Her hands moved confidently over the controls as she brought up the incoming fleet on the main display. "Commander, they're hailing us," Rosa announced. "Audio only, but they're using standard galactic trade language." Sarah nodded. "Put them through." The voice that filled the operations center was deep and resonant, speaking with an accent that suggested a non-human vocal structure. "Attention. Primitive mining facility. This is Fleet Commander Zethak of the Valdorian Empire. You are now within claimed Imperial territory. You have 1 standard hour to evacuate your facility and depart this system." Sarah exchanged glances with Marcus and Rosa. None of them had ever heard of the Valdorian Empire, which was concerning given Marcus's extensive knowledge of galactic politics and trade relationships. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of Mining Station. Prometheus 7, she replied, her voice steady and professional. "This system was surveyed and claimed by the Colonial Mining Consortium 12 years ago. We have legal mining rights here." The alien's response carried what sounded like amusement. "Commander Chen, your species' legal claims are irrelevant. The Valdorian Empire recognizes no authority but its own. We have conquered 847 worlds. Your small mining station will not be the exception that stops our expansion." Rosa's fingers moved silently over her controls, bringing up tactical information about the approaching fleet. The ships were large, clearly designed for warfare with energy signatures that suggested powerful weapons and shields. On paper, the mining station didn't stand a chance against such a force. "Fleet Commander Zethak," Sarah said, "I need to discuss this with my people. Will you give us time to consider your request? You may have 72 of your planet's hours to gather your belongings and leave," Zethak replied. "After that time, any remaining humans will be considered hostile forces and dealt with accordingly." The communication ended, leaving the operations center in tense silence. Marcus was the first to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. 847 worlds, Sarah. If that's true, we're dealing with a major galactic power. Rosa pulled up star charts on her display. "I'm not finding any record of the Valdorian Empire in our databases, but that doesn't mean much. We're pretty far from the major trade routes out here." Sarah stared at the tactical display showing the approaching fleet. Each ship was easily 10 times the size of their mining station, and the energy readings suggested weapons that could vaporize Prometheus 7 in seconds. Any reasonable person would order an immediate evacuation. "Marcus, send a priority message to Earth Command," Sarah ordered. "Full details about our situation. Include everything we know about this Valdorian Empire." "Already working on it," Marcus replied, his hands flying over his communication console. "But Sarah, even if Earth responds immediately, it would take weeks for any help to reach us." "I know," Sarah said quietly. Then more loudly, "Rosa, what's the status of our defensive systems?" Rosa looked surprised by the question. "Defensive systems? Sarah, we're a mining station. We have some point defense lasers for shooting asteroids that drift too close, but nothing that could stop a military fleet." Sarah walked to the central command chair and sat down, her expression thoughtful. "Actually, Rosa, we have quite a bit more than point defense lasers. It's time you both learned about some modifications that were made to the station before we arrived here." Marcus and Rosa exchanged confused looks. "What kind of modifications?" Marcus asked. Sarah activated a series of controls that neither of her colleagues had seen her use before. Throughout the station, hidden panels began to slide back, revealing equipment that definitely hadn't been there during the original construction. On the displays around the operations center, new system readouts appeared showing weapon batteries, shield generators, and defensive systems that were far beyond what any civilian mining operation should possess. "For the past 200 years, Sarah explained, humanity has been preparing for this day. We've known that eventually we would encounter a hostile alien empire. Every human facility built beyond Earth's solar system has been constructed with hidden defensive capabilities." Rosa stared at the new displays in amazement. "These weapon systems, Sarah, some of these are military-grade ship killers. How did they hide this from the construction crews?" "The construction crews were all military personnel in disguise," Sarah replied, "just like the three of us are." Marcus sat down heavily in his chair. "Sarah, are you telling us that this entire mining operation is a cover story?" "Not entirely," Sarah said. "We really do mine asteroids, and we really do ship rare minerals back to Earth. But every human outpost, every colony, every research station beyond our home system has a secondary purpose. We're all part of Earth's early warning network." She activated another control, and the main display showed a map of human space that neither Marcus nor Rosa had ever seen before. Instead of the dozen official colonies they knew about, the map showed hundreds of human outposts scattered throughout the galaxy, all connected by hidden communication networks. "We've been watching and waiting," Sarah continued, "learning about potential threats, gathering intelligence, and preparing for the day when someone like the Valdorians would show up and demand our surrender." The operations center's main display chimed with an incoming message from the approaching fleet. Fleet Commander Zethak's voice filled the room again, but this time with less patience than before. "Human Commander Chen, we have been monitoring your communications. You're primitive. Distress signals will not summon help in time. We suggest you use your remaining time wisely and begin evacuation procedures." Sarah stood up from her command chair, her voice taking on a tone that neither Marcus nor Rosa had heard before. It was the voice of someone who had commanded soldiers in battle, someone who had made life and death decisions under fire. "Fleet, Commander Zethak, this is Commander Sarah Chen. I have a counter-proposal for you. We do not negotiate with primitive species, Zethak replied dismissively. You have 72 hours to withdraw your fleet from this system, Sarah continued as if he hadn't spoken. After that time, any Valdorian ships remaining in our territory will be considered hostile forces and dealt with accordingly. The silence that followed was broken by what sounded like alien laughter. Commander Chen, you cannot be serious. Your single mining station against our entire fleet? Your species must truly be as primitive as our intelligence reports suggested. Sarah's expression remained calm and professional. Fleet Commander, I'm giving you fair warning. You have 72 hours to leave. What happens after that is entirely your choice. Human arrogance is remarkable, Zethak replied. Very well. We will use the next 3 days to study your pathetic defenses before we destroy you. Perhaps your destruction will serve as an example to other species who might consider resisting the Empire. The communication ended once again, but this time Sarah was smiling. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Sarah, Marcus said carefully, please tell me you have a plan that doesn't involve getting us all killed. Sarah activated another series of controls, and throughout the station, crew members began receiving messages on their personal communication devices. As they read the messages, their expressions changed from confusion to understanding to grim determination. Marcus, Rosa, there's something else you need to know about our crew, Sarah said. Remember how carefully they were all selected? Remember how they all seemed to have unusual skills for civilian miners? Rosa was staring at her personal communicator, reading a message that was apparently changing everything she thought she knew about their situation. Sarah, this message, it's activation orders. Military activation orders. Every person on this station is a trained soldier, Sarah explained. We've all been living cover identities, but we've never stopped being Earth Defense Corps. The miners are combat engineers, the cooks are demolitions experts, the maintenance crew are weapons specialists. Marcus was frantically working at his communication console. Sarah, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the station. Systems I never knew existed are coming online. The Valdorians think they're dealing with a primitive mining operation run by helpless civilians, Sarah said. They're about to learn why humanity doesn't make idle threats. She walked back to the viewport and looked out at the asteroid field surrounding their station. To most observers, it looked like a natural formation of space rocks with mining equipment scattered throughout. But Sarah knew the truth. Every asteroid had been carefully positioned. Every piece of mining equipment had a secondary function. The entire system was a weapon that had been 8 years in the making. Fleet Commander Zethak has conquered 847 worlds, Sarah said quietly. But he's never encountered a species that spent centuries preparing for his arrival. Throughout the station, crew members were moving to their real positions. The mining facility was transforming into something the Valdorian Empire had never encountered before, a human military installation that had been disguised as a civilian target. The countdown had begun. In 72 hours, the Valdorian Empire would learn why humans always meant what they said when they gave a warning. They would discover the difference between conquering species that fought for their homes and facing a species that had weaponized everything they touched while preparing for war across the entire galaxy. Outside the viewport, the asteroid field waited silently. Hidden within those rocks were weapons that could crack planets, defenses that could stop fleets, and surprises that would teach an ancient empire why underestimating humanity was the last mistake they would ever make. Why Humans Don't Bluff 72. Hours had passed since Commander Sarah Chen gave her warning to the Valdorian Empire. The alien fleet hung in space just outside the asteroid field, their ships arranged in perfect attack formation. Fleet Commander Zethak had spent the waiting time studying the human mining station, confident that his overwhelming firepower would make quick work of what he saw as a primitive outpost. On the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought, Imperial Conquest, Zethak reviewed the tactical data his sensors had gathered. The human station appeared to be exactly what it claimed to be, a simple mining facility with basic defensive systems. His intelligence officers had identified point defense lasers, standard mining equipment, and what appeared to be a small crew of civilian workers going about their daily routines. Fleet Commander, his tactical officer reported, "All ships are in position. Weapons are charged and ready. Shall we proceed with the attack?" Zethek nodded, his 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The Valdorian Empire had built its reputation on swift, overwhelming victories. 847 worlds had fallen before their might, and this small human outpost would be no different. "Begin the attack," Zethek commanded. "Target their power systems first. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Their station may contain useful technology we can study." The Valdorian fleet opened fire with synchronized precision. Plasma beams and energy torpedoes streaked through space toward mining station Prometheus 7. The weapons were powerful enough to crack moons, and there should have been nothing left of the human facility after the first volley. Instead, something impossible happened. The energy weapons struck what appeared to be empty space around the mining station and were absorbed by invisible barriers. Massive shield generators that had been hidden throughout the asteroid field suddenly became visible as they deflected the Imperial attack. The mining station sat safely within a protective bubble that glowed briefly blue before returning to transparency. "What?" Zethek stared at his displays in confusion. "How are they generating shield fields that powerful? Our sensors detected no such capabilities." His science officer was frantically working at his station, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. "Sir, massive energy signatures are emerging throughout the asteroid field. It appears the humans have been hiding their true capabilities." On Prometheus 7, Commander Sarah Chen stood in the operations center watching the Valdorian attack fail completely. Around her, her crew worked at stations that had been disguised as mining equipment for 8 years. Marcus Webb monitored shield strength and power distribution. Rosa Martinez coordinated the defensive systems that were hidden throughout the asteroid field. "Shields holding at 98%, Rosa reported. "The Valdorians hit us with everything they had, and we barely felt it." Sarah activated the communication system. "Fleet Commander Zethek, this is Commander Chen. You've just fired on a human military installation. That was an act of war." Zethek's reply came through the speakers, his voice no longer carrying the casual arrogance of their first conversation. "Impossible. Our sensors showed nothing but mining equipment." "Your sensors showed exactly what we wanted them to see," Sarah replied calmly. "Commander, you've made 2 critical errors. First, you assumed that humans would build undefended civilian outposts in hostile space. Second, you assumed that we were telling you about all of our capabilities." She gestured to Rosa, who began activating systems throughout the asteroid field. What the Valdorians had thought was a loose collection of mining equipment began to transform before their eyes. Asteroids split apart to reveal hidden weapon platforms. Mining ships shed their external shells to become military escorts. The drilling equipment that had been harvesting minerals rotated to point toward the alien fleet, revealing itself to be massive artillery cannons. "You see, Fleet Commander," Sarah continued, "humans learned something important about galactic politics before we ever left our home system. We learned that space is full of empires like yours, empires that view other species as either subjects or obstacles to be removed." The asteroid field was now revealed as one of the most heavily fortified positions in known space. Weapon platforms that could destroy capital ships emerged from hidden bunkers. Defense drones swarmed out of concealed launch bays. The entire system had been designed as a trap for exactly this type of situation. Marcus looked up from his console. "Sarah, I'm reading massive energy spikes from the outer system. The Valdorians aren't the only ones who brought reinforcements." On the main display, new contacts began appearing throughout the system. Ships that had been hiding using advanced stealth technology suddenly became visible. They weren't human civilian vessels, but warships designed specifically for combat. The Colonial Mining Consortium ship Asteroid Crusher revealed itself to be the heavy cruiser Earth's Hammer. The supply transport mineral hauler dropped its disguise to become the destroyer Solar Wind. "This is Captain Torres of the Earth defense ship Righteous Fury," came a new voice over the communication system. "Prometheus 7, We are in position and ready to support. Captain Kim of the EDS Stellar Guardian reporting. All weapon systems online. Commander Park, EDS Galactic Shield. We have the alien fleet surrounded. Fleet Commander Zethak watched in growing horror as his tactical display filled with human warships. What had started as an attack on a single mining station had become a battle against an entire human battle group that had been hiding throughout the system. How many ships, he demanded of his sensor operator. 43 confirmed human vessels, sir. All military grade, all armed with weapons we don't recognize. But the surprises weren't over. Throughout the asteroid field, the mining equipment that had been gathering minerals for 8 years revealed its true purpose. The massive ore processors opened like giant mechanical flowers, each one containing a weapon that defied understanding. The asteroids themselves began to move, revealing that they had been carefully positioned and equipped with engines and guidance systems. Sarah's voice came over the communication channel again, but now it carried the authority of someone who had been preparing for this moment her entire career. Fleet Commander Zethak, you are now facing the Earth Defense Corps 7th Deep Space Division. Every person you thought was a civilian miner is a trained soldier. Every piece of equipment you thought was for mining has been converted into a weapon. Every asteroid in this field has been turned into a guided missile. Rosa began activating the asteroid guidance systems. Rocks the size of city blocks began moving toward the Valdorian fleet, their surfaces bristling with warheads and guidance systems. The aliens had seconds to realize that they were facing not just ships and conventional weapons, but an entire solar system that had been weaponized. You wanted to know what makes humans different from the other species you've conquered, Sarah continued. The difference is that we don't just fight to survive. We plan, we prepare, and we turn everything around us into a weapon. For 200 years we've been getting ready to meet empires like yours. The first human counterattack was devastating. The asteroid missiles struck Valdorian ships with the force of nuclear weapons, but they were just the beginning. The hidden weapon platforms opened fire with energy beams that could slice through the Empire's strongest armor. The human warships attacked in coordinated formations using tactics that the aliens had never encountered before. Fleet Commander Zethak tried to order a retreat, but he discovered that the humans had thought of that too. The weapon platforms weren't just attacking his ships, they were creating an energy barrier around the entire system. His fleet was trapped in what had become a killing field. All ships emergency retreat. Zethak broadcast to his fleet. We cannot win this battle. Fleet Commander, Sarah's voice came through his communication system. Your ships are not leaving this system. You cannot hold an entire fleet prisoner, Zethak protested. We're not holding you prisoner, Sarah replied. We're giving you the same choice you gave us. 72 hours ago, you demanded that we surrender or be destroyed. Now I'm making you the same offer. Throughout the battle, Marcus had been monitoring communications from across human space. Sarah, we're receiving reports from other systems. This isn't the only Valdorian fleet that showed up today. They attacked 12 human outposts simultaneously. Sarah smiled grimly. And how are our people doing? Every single Valdorian attack has been repelled, Marcus reported. The mining station at Kepler 442 destroyed an entire Imperial squadron. The research facility at Wolf 359 captured 6 enemy ships intact. The trading post at Proxima Centauri didn't even bother with their hidden weapons. They just turned their asteroid belt into a kinetic bombardment system. Fleet Commander Zethak was listening to these reports with growing despair. His empire had launched what should have been a simple conquest operation against a primitive species. Instead, they had discovered that the humans had been preparing for this exact scenario for centuries. Surrender, Sarah said simply. Your ships are outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped. Your empire attacked 12 human positions today and lost every single battle. This is your one chance to save your crews. For the first time in his military career, Fleet Commander Zethak found himself completely outmatched. The Valdorian Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds by attacking species that fought defensively, trying to protect what they had built. But humans were different. They had built their entire civilization as a weapon. disguising military installations as civilian facilities and spreading them throughout the galaxy. "How?" Zethak asked, his voice heavy with defeat. "How did you hide all of this from our intelligence networks?" "Because we've been watching you for 50 years, Sarah replied. "We knew about the Valdorian Empire before you knew about us. We studied your tactics, learned your weaknesses, and prepared accordingly. Every human facility you can see was designed specifically to counter your methods of attack." The battle was over before it had really begun. The Valdorian fleet, once the pride of a galactic empire, was dead in space. Some ships had been destroyed, others disabled, and the rest were surrounded by human vessels with weapons trained on them. But Sarah wasn't done yet. She activated a communication channel that reached far beyond the local system, broadcasting on frequencies that would carry her words to every corner of known space. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Corps, broadcasting to all worlds and species within range of this transmission. Today, the Valdorian Empire attacked human facilities in 12 star systems. Today, the Valdorian Empire learned that humanity does not make idle threats." She paused, looking out at the disabled alien fleet. "For any other empire, government, or species that might be considering similar actions, understand this. Humanity has been preparing for galactic warfare for 2 centuries. We have installations throughout known space. We have weapons you cannot detect and defenses you cannot overcome. We do not start fights, but we always finish them." The transmission ended, and throughout the galaxy, the balance of power had fundamentally shifted. The Valdorian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable, had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Other galactic powers began to reconsider their assumptions about these humans who had appeared from the rim of the galaxy. Fleet Commander Zethak activated his personal communication device. "This is Fleet Commander Zethak to Imperial Command. Operation Conquest has failed. Request immediate ceasefire negotiations with the humans." Sarah nodded to Rosa, who began powering down the weapon systems. "Fleet Commander, you may dock with our station to discuss terms, but understand this. The age of easy conquest is over. Humanity is now part of galactic politics, and we will not be ignored or dismissed." As the Valdorian ships limped toward the mining station under heavy guard, Sarah Chen looked out at the stars and smiled. For 8 years, she had pretended to be a civilian administrator running a simple mining operation. Today, she had revealed the truth that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity had never stopped being warriors, and they had spent centuries preparing for this exact moment. The Valdorian Empire had conquered 847 worlds, but they had finally met a species that conquered differently. Humans didn't conquer through force. They conquered through preparation, patience, and the absolute refusal to give up. The galaxy would never be the same.